It's about 6 o'clock in the morning. I was up past 11 or 1 in the morning last night doing the video on the real assassination of Joseph Smith. Having grown up in Southern California, inland, not on the coast, they have a problem with smog, and when it was mixed with my landing on my back from 20 or 30 feet, which damaged my lungs. The two together, I guess, combined to give me problems with phlegm gathering in my throat, and so I cough a lot. So yeah, I know you guys are irritated by it, but there's nothing I can do about it. I can't take cough medicine. I found out and realized in my teens in Southern California that cough medicine was doing nothing, despite the flavorful taste of the cough drops. Cherry flavored, grape, and well, cherry flavored was always the best. But I realized it was worthless to spend my money on something that wasn't doing me any good, and if it was for the sugar taste, I might as well just buy candy. So when I was out on my LDS mission in New York, we went to go see the Berardi family in Poughkeepsie, and one day they were steaming off their wallpaper to re-wallpaper their walls. I walked in the house. Whoa! Couldn't breathe. I was rushed home. Elder Stratford had me put my face over a cooking bowl of steaming hot water, and a towel was placed over my head, and I was supposed to breathe the steam. I still ended up having to go to the doctor there in New York, and I told him I had a breathing problem, an attack, and he first asked me, where are you from? And I said, Southern California. And he said, smog. So any of these reports from the government telling you that the government's not trying to murder us by polluting our air, they're lying. I'm one of the victims, the multi-millions of victims of Americans who are being murdered by our own government because they refuse to do away with the combustion engine. And so, yeah, Utah is also famous for their inversion. They don't want to call it smog or pollution. They instead call it inversion, because that sounds scientific and distracts us from our own government of Utah trying to murder us here in Utah. Yeah, we don't want that, do we? No, they speak for God in the government, because they're all Mormon in the government. Okay, so this video is just an intermediary, my first video of the morning thing, where I talk about something eventually. My dream was that the video I did last night got held back, and so that this video that I'm doing now gets bumped ahead of it. So with the problems I've had with YouTube and finding out that the night shift is a Mormon guy at YouTube, that wouldn't surprise me at all if he decides to daily check on my channel to see if he can violate my rights in any form or fashion, since he seems to think he's got power at YouTube. Okay, so my intention is to do a video by request. Oh, yeah, I've got new undershirts, and I'm a 3X now because of what the state of Utah did to me. Again, trying to murder me and silence me and remove me from society without my constitutional rights. And I've gone over those videos and books and blogs. So yeah, I've got new undershirts now. They're a little bit big because they're for tall people. And so yeah, I'll now be wearing the sleeves out because that's how much bigger they are than my regular shirts. And then looks like you can see them here, and in public I'll tuck them in, but sitting down is a pain in the butt because it chokes me. Can't breathe if I tuck my shirts in. That's why I've always left my shirts untucked, despite my mother thinking that I'm naked if I leave the house with my shirt untucked, without a belt on my jeans, and without shoes and socks. That was my mom. She was a hardcore alt-right Nazi sympathizer, white supremacist, Mormon. So I know exactly who the Mormon people are. I know exactly what's going through their thinking. And yet, I still keep trying to warn them of the dangers that are coming to Utah and to our nation. And yet, as a result, here's the theme for my video. Mormons attack me. And because when you're in the wrong and you're being abusive as a cyberbully now, or abusive in society, whether it be as a government leader, or business leader, a religious leader, you're a bully. And you don't see yourself as a bully. I had to point this out to one of my commenters on another channel. You know, he says, I have never seen Mormon abuse in my 40 years as a Mormon. That's because you are one. Remember Jesus and that whole beam and moat? And even Mormons understand it in the Book of Mormon. You know, the Antichrist, they never saw themselves as bad. Laman and Lemuel, they didn't see themselves as bad. Laman and Lemuel justified it because they were the older brothers. They had the birthright blessing to lead the tribe, and young baby Nephi thinks he's going to rule the tribe. I don't think so, says Laman. So yeah, corrupt people don't see their corruption. They just don't. It's a weird phenomenon because they justify themselves because of their status, because of their group affiliation, you know, an elite Mormon, Utah elite Mormon, to be more specific, because I was born and raised Mormon. I never had any problems with Mormons until I moved to Utah. And then all of a sudden, I'm getting attacked. You know, my first wife, you know, she leaves me. How did she leave me? She was able to get my own parents to turn against me, who moved to Utah. But they were able to get our bishop to turn on me. You know, we're going in having bishops counseling as if he's some kind of marriage counselor. That was a big mistake. And after it happened, the stake president is notified of it. And so what does he do? Oh, he promotes the bishop to his counselor. Yeah. No corruption there. And then I go around, I make the discovery that I'll do the video of with the Egyptian Bible stories next. But I take my Paleo-Hebrew discovery to the church, because I don't know where to go. I'm trying to find people to contact. Do you have any information on the King Follett Discourse? Anything further on Joseph Smith and Hebrew? You know, anybody know? Anybody? I've got this theory that I've just barely discovered about the origin of the alphabet, which Paleo-Hebrew. And is there any further information? Because I'm trying to confirm my theory. I don't just promote it and say, I'm right, everybody else is wrong. No, I use the scientific processes. I keep checking it over and over. Even to this day, I still keep checking it. But I've nonetheless published my results. And I've done the tests on vocabulary. And I've done the test in translation. And thus I'm going to do the video next about how the Bible stories come from Egyptian. And they're not original Hebrew stuff. So sorry, Mormon, Jews. Yeah. Your original religion is Egypt. Christians, your religion is Egypt. And so, yeah, anyway, that's the next video I'll do. But Mormons have been very abusive to me here in Utah. At my places of work, I've been on a full front attack by Mormons. You know, it's the non-Mormons or the former Mormons, ex-Mormons, who are the nice ones to me here in Utah. And that shouldn't be the case. And so, yeah, that, you know, I came to Utah with the discovery confirming Joseph Smith has been right with his translation work. And Mormons just attack me. It's just the bizarrest thing in the universe. You'd think Mormons would want somebody to rise up and say, Joseph Smith is right, church is true, woo, yeah, party. No. You know, obviously, if Joseph Smith is right, it doesn't mean that the Brighamite church is true. And Mormons don't get that either. They don't study logic and what makes a sound and versus an unsound argument. And so, yeah, just because I confirm that Joseph Smith is correct with his translations does not confirm that the church is God's church. They're two separate arguments, two separate issues. And Mormons don't get that, because somebody went and told them that, oh, if you read and pray and get revelation from God that the Book of Mormon is true, then everything else is true. No, it doesn't work that way. That's not sound argument. And so, yeah, it's been frustrating trying to get through to the minds and hearts of Utahns. and I try all sorts of different tactics, and the one that's most successful of getting the most attention is shocking titles, and with a picture that accompanies it. But I've noticed that once a video does well, it continues to build on itself. So that's what happened with my now 14,000 video from before, and just yesterday I had to ban a guy from my channel because he thinks he knows better as a Mormon, and I was wrong. I'm trying to help Mormons in that video, but yet I get a Mormon guy coming on saying that I'm wrong and I'm an idiot and I'm a loser and I'm this, that, and the other name. Using name calling does not make your argument sound. It automatically disqualifies it as sound. And yet Mormons are abusive. They're famous for using name calling and bullying, and now with the internet, cyberbullying. They will not allow anybody to challenge the church's information. Even though the church changed their information with the gospel topic essays, even though they're still incorrect, they nevertheless said, oh yeah, we were lying and deceiving you guys before, but now we're telling you the truth. Trust us. And yes, a lot of critics are trusting the church now. It's like, what? Guys, you're upset with the church for lying and deceiving you, and now the church comes out with gospel topic essays and you automatically trust and believe them? What are you doing? Don't fall for that. No, it's a trap. And so frustrating trying to get through to both sides on the issue. Mormons, they're lying and deceiving you. Ex and non-Mormons, they're still lying and deceiving. It's just so frustrating. I want to bang my head. Mental health will drive you mad. Oh, yeah, good old Quiet Riot. Twisted Sister was other stuff. And Burn in Hell, I think, is one of their Twisted Sister songs. That's a good one. You're gonna burn and hear no evil, don't you think? Good old memories from the 80s. Okay, so yeah, it's very frustrating trying to educate Mormons and even critics of the Mormon Church. And so that's why I did the request for the Joseph Smith assassination. And that's the video before this one. Unless my dream is correct and it's gotten bumped. Yeah, I point out the facts and the evidence about the event. And the facts and the evidence clearly indicate that it was an inside job. So, sorry Mormons, Willard Richards and John Taylor were in on the assassination because Joseph Smith chased the mob out with his 6-shooter. That, my third great-grandfather giving Joseph a gun, it was a single shot. My family knew about that. The Fulmer family line from my third great-grandfather, the Fulmers, we knew the story. We knew that our third great-grandfather was sort of the family hero, because he tried to save Joseph, even though Joseph Smith ordered him to go get the militia to come save him from a mob. He wasn't able to get the mob back in time, or the militia back in time to beat the mob. And then there was another militia from the governor, who the governor had ordered the Warsaw Lodge, don't go after Joseph, stay away from him. But there was a rogue group that still went to the jail as a mob. And so the governor had also sent a militia, and they arrive just after Joseph is shot to death multiple times out there by the well, as he was thrown out the window by his inside job conspirators. And so that'll come to as a shock for both sides again, because nobody's doing the actual research. They're just trusting whichever source tells them what they want to hear. So yeah, Mormons fall prey to that with the church, because the church tells the Mormons what to believe, and Mormons fall for it. And then ex-Mormons and non-Mormons and former Mormons, you know, they hear information that they like and they want to believe. And so again, they too, you know, have their feelings of what is true rather than confirming the information to double check it. And so, yes, former non-Mormons, you're right, the Book of Mormon was plagiarized, but there's a reason why it was plagiarized. It wasn't just because Joseph was trying to fool everybody and deceive the world. No, he had a specific message to warn people about. And unless you learn all of the information, such as the Smith family connection to William Morgan, you will never know the truth. And as I tried to indicate to an ignorant, self-righteous Mormon, Daniel, that's why I did the video of Daniel. Daniel doesn't see his own abusiveness with his self-righteousness. You know, he believes he's right, and therefore he speaks words, not realizing he's insulting and abusing verbally other people. And so in the video I did, he insults Mormon women even. I was in shock when I went and did the video on it, because I missed it in the text because he was just rambling. So I just covered the initial paragraph and the last paragraph of information, and he snuck it in the middle. And I went, no, Daniel, no, you can't do that, no. And then he comes back and says, I don't see where I was abusive. Yeah, beam and mote, remember Jesus? You don't see it in yourself. And so, you know, Mormons, they don't see it when I point out the facts. You know, I did the church stats video. The church stats, the church's stats. They're not my stats. I'm not making them up. It's the church's stats. There's the Wikipedia page that the church information is uploaded to and modified on a yearly basis. And you can go there for yourself and see the growth and then the collapse of the church. The church is collapsing because of the stats. They don't lie. They don't alter according to people's opinion. I love watching Nicole Wallace on her Deadline White House show on MSNBC, but she has her advertisement for her show talking about how spin is the best interpretation of the facts. No, spin's not good, Nicole. No, you don't spin facts. As a news person, you're supposed to report the facts and the facts alone. You know, Dragnet, whether the old TV show or the movie version with Tom Hanks and is it Dan Aykroyd? Just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts. Police officers are supposed to only have facts, but now, here in Utah, I'm getting asked when I call up, making a complaint, so why would they do that? That's not important. That has no relevance to this. A crime is being committed. That's the facts. Oh, we need a motive. No, you don't. You don't need motive to identify a person as a criminal. See, when somebody is being violated of their rights to life, liberty, property, there's a crime. You don't need to know why. A person has been victimized of their rights. Police officers need to arrest that person who violated the rights. And they won't do it now. Oh, because we can't win in court if we don't have a motive. You know, maybe if they didn't realize they were doing something wrong, that we can give them a lighter sentence. We don't need to ruin their football career if they rape a woman. You know, it's a he said, she said, right? Screw the facts. You know, boys will be boys. See, their abuse is permeated, not just throughout the nation, but here especially in Utah Mormon culture. You know, it took decades for BYU to change their policy on women who report being sexually raped, sexually abused. Because the Mormons running BYU would blame the victim, the rape victim. And so 2017, BYU finally changed the policy. So no more will a woman get excommunicated from the church, kicked out of BYU for being the victim of rape. No more will they say, well, you know, you were at that party and that dress wasn't BYU standards. You know, you were showing your neck. You were showing your wrists. You were showing your ankles. You know, you were at a pool party and you were in a bathing suit. Yeah, well, that was just an invitation for rape. So yes, Mormons are abusive. They don't see it in themselves. They don't see what they're doing by attacking victims and protecting the abusers. They don't see it. And that's a weird phenomenon, but it's been one throughout history because Jesus, the beam and the mote. You know, if you see a minor problem in another person, look at yourself first. You have the worst problem. Make sure you don't have that worst problem in order to judge others properly. That's what Jesus was trying to teach with the beam and the mote. And yet everybody says, oh, you can't judge me. I can do whatever I want. I can commit crime. I can commit sin. Nobody can judge me. No, we can judge you. But we've got to do it correctly. We don't go after victims. So, yeah, it just blows my mind that Mormons are so abusive. And, you know, they've been informed that they are elite. They've been informed, you know, like chosen people. And so they are limited on what they're told concerning the church history, scripture interpretation. And so anybody who, so anybody who challenges them, you know, saying, no, Joseph Smith was right, guys. See here, the glyphs, you got to translate the glyphs, not just the text. See, scientists are saying, no, Joseph Smith was wrong. We don't see Abraham in the text. And so Egyptologists have now convinced the church that Joseph Smith is wrong. Gospel topic essays, historicity, and translation of the Book of Abraham. Look it up, Mormons. It's in John Gee's writing. He's the author of that article. But the church has taken it as their own official doctrinal position on the translation of the Book of Abraham. And so the church is now saying Joseph Smith is wrong because Egyptologists said, we're looking at the text, we can't find Abraham in any of it. All we see is the Book of Breathings and the Book of the Dead, which is technically the coming forth by day, not the Book of the Dead. Budge, get it right. I don't know why they keep publishing Budge's works. Stargate reference. Woo! Yeah, Stargate. So, great stuff. I really was excited when I heard that they were planning on doing a reboot, because Stargate SG-1 took them on a tangent into Celtic land, took them away from Egypt. No! Stay with Egypt, don't go there. I know you killed Ra and all in the movie, but don't go to the Celts. Stick with the Egyptians. There's so much there. Oh well. So yeah, I was excited about the reboot, and then they said, oh well, then we're gonna wait until after we do the reboot of Independence Day, and then the reboot of Independence Day comes and goes, and then I find out, no, we've got other things we want to do. Oh, do Stargate trilogy, Stargate. And so the Stargate people, they go and do their own Stargate Origins on their website, and so paid the $20 to see their 10-minute episodes, which combined turn out to be a full-length movie. And so, yeah, cool stuff, but alright, so I'm at 30 minutes, so this is just me rambling off. So Mormons. You know, Bull's episode last night, you know, it was a forensic scientist who did autopsies. You know, she doesn't associate with people. She's not a social person, but she's good at her job as a scientist, doing research on dead bodies to identify the cause of death, to find the killer in this particular instance, because, you know, they show her going back into the lab, or the wherever they do the examinations of the bodies, and then the next scene, you know, she's getting an award for having discovered the key crucial evidence that nobody else had found, and she puts away this murderer for forever, for life. He's gone from society. And then the defendant's lawyer, years later, comes back and says, hey, we want this tested again. and sure enough, oh my goodness, it's not his hair anymore. And oh, I guess we need to accuse this forensic scientist of lying and deceiving and planting evidence. No, it was the lawyer who had the evidence planted, and because his own son was found guilty because of the evidence that same forensic scientist had discovered. And so he was setting her up so that a cause would be made, so that all of her evidence in all the different cases would fall under question and need to be, you know, for some weird reason, the courts say that, oh, if this one person is wrong in one case, therefore all the cases that one person was involved with have to be dropped and dismissed and people released from prison. I don't understand the logic in that. Each case is a separate thing. But yeah, that's why here in Utah, the corruption case against Mark Shurtleff was a very dangerous one to do for Sean Reyes as the new guy in town. But yeah, saw very clearly here in Utah that Mark Shurtleff was well protected. He made sure he was not going to prison. He will not be found guilty. And the other successor as the Utah Attorney General, who also went down with Shurtleff, and they tried to do them together, and they said, no, we need to be separated. Needs to be separate cases. And so the other former Utah Attorney General, he gets to go to trial, but the Utahns on the trial said, oh, no, he's a fellow Mormon. He couldn't have done anything bad. And so the jury said he's innocent. And that didn't help Shurtleff's case of corruption as a Utah Attorney General. Mormons are protecting their own in the courts. Shurtleff was the worst human being on earth. I am one of his victims. You know, but unfortunately they weren't discussing a particular case that he botched with trumped up charges, forced guilty plea. You know, because if it were going up against him in regards to a case that he had been involved in, then do you know how many Utahns would have to be set free because of this strange law that if one case was done wrong, all the cases are therefore subject or questioned, and everybody has to be freed? So yes, I was all excited about hearing that Mark Shurtleff was going to go down for corruption, until I learned that the other former Utah Attorney General is found not guilty, despite all the facts and the evidence that he was guilty. Mormons let him go. And then you have the witness who had his own separate trial for being the guy getting the attorney generals in trouble in the first place, and he refuses to testify. So he's going to jail in contempt of court. And it's like, what? He's not testifying? He's going down because he doesn't want to get murdered by narking on the former Utah Attorney General. The former Utah Attorney General is exactly like a crime boss. That's the horror of all this. You know, Fred Cox, former Utah legislator. He lives right in my area. So when I did the neighborhood watch and I expanded to include him, people were warning me right from the beginning, he's former CIA, Travis. Be careful. Yeah, well, I saw exactly his tactics and I knew exactly what he was doing. But I didn't care. Nobody was going to neighborhood watch anymore. Nobody cared that I had been saving their property. I had chased out crime from the neighborhood. And so everybody thought, oh, everything's fine now. We don't need to participate in the neighborhood watch. All is well in our neighborhood. And so, yeah, there was a vacuum that opened up. And now all rivaling gangs in the surrounding areas are now turf warring. Okay, so, yeah, but Fred Cox, he pulls the same terrorist tactic, mob boss tactic, gang member tactic to recruit people. You know, he flatters, pacifies, and deceives. You know, the Book of Mormon thing, Mormons. And then he, you know, I knew what he was doing. You know, you're complimenting me on a statement to a person in a private Facebook messaging. What are you doing, Fred? And sure enough, not too much longer thereafter, I want to help bring other people into our neighborhood watch. And then it became, oh, there are people saying that they want the neighborhood watch to continue. And I will help. and then, give me Facebook equality as the owner of the site. Because we had an exclusive Neighborhood Watch site on Facebook. And so yeah, he was trying to smooth his way in, saying that he will help, just give me a little power. And now I don't know if he still is, because his intention was to get back into the legislature or some other political field again, because he got booted out by one vote. And so, yeah, he needed something to pad his resume to justify getting back into political office again. And so, yeah, I saw the tactic. It was just like, oh man, what does he think? Who does he think I am? Just because the Mark Shurtleff gave me the labels that I now have doesn't mean that I have the actual labels that Mark Shurtleff says I have, because Mark Shurtleff is a bad man. So, all right. So yeah, Mormons, you gotta stop the abuse. You keep putting your thumbs down. That's abuse. That's not Christ-like. That's not convincing anybody that you guys are the true church of God. And we will stand for the right. No, that just reinforces that you guys aren't the true church. Because if the members are abusive, and you're supposed to be examples of Jesus Christ, and you're abusive, yeah, no, nobody wants to have anything to do with you guys. Nobody's going to join. Nobody's going to come back. I'm not going to come back. See, it's too late for me now. You can be as nice as you want, because Utahns are very nice to new people in the beginning. And then if you don't conform and convert, you're ostracized. So, yeah, that's why the joke sign coming into Utah, welcome to Utah, now go home. So, or is it bumper stickers, I guess. But Mormons, you can't be abusive. That doesn't help your condition. Your church is collapsing. The stats prove it. And then Nelson, that's why he's doing the drastic changes to the church, because he's trying to get people to come back. He's using the same tactics as Fred Cox. I speak for God, and God wants me to take away the high priesthood so that you can't go to the celestial kingdom. Yeah, I speak for God, therefore you're not going to study your scriptures. We're only going to have Sunday school every other week. I speak for God, therefore we're not adding other scripture that testify of Jesus Christ, like that Apocrypha book that Joseph Smith said was translated correctly for the most part, that he saw no reason to make any changes to. We're not including that in our scripture. I speak for God. And Brigham Young, I speak for God, and God wants me to be a racist, a sexist, a homophobic, a bigot, a xenophobe, a murderer. I speak for God. It's what God wants. You've just created your own God, and you're being fooled into following this new creation of God. And so, yeah, even though Spencer W. Kimball and Gordon B. Hinckley got up at the conference pulpit, both denounced Brigham Young's change of God, the Adam God, they still didn't change the temple text. That was Benson, and then finally Nelson, who made changes. But still, you're still getting it wrong, guys. You're trying to drum up more support for Mormonism, to recruit more Mormonism. And that's why Nelson did his youth fireside, telling the youth, Stay out of social media. Stay away from news. Go out and recruit your non-Mormon friends. Kids, telling them to go recruit. Gee, I wonder if there's any example in history that we can compare this to. Oh yeah, the Hitler Youth. As Hitler spoke to the youth, trying to get them to recruit into the Nazis, the SS and the Nazi order, and they had the youth battalion of the Nazis. You know, the youth got to wear uniforms for being a part of Hitler's youth battalion. And so Nelson, he gets up there in the youth fireside and says, "You are the Lord's battalion, the youth battalion." Yay, we're the youth battalion. Woo, I'm going to stay away from the fake news about Trump being a conspiratorial traitor to this nation, and go out and convert my friends to Mormonism so that they can give their tithing money to the church. Yeah, it's a big scam, people. You don't get youth involved. You stay away from the youth. Let the parents raise the kids. Once the kids turn of age, legal age, then you can manipulate them and steal their money in a religious scam. But yeah, every Mormon defends the church. They don't see how any of that is wrong. What's wrong with telling the youth that they're part of the youth battalion? I don't see anything wrong with it. Staying away from the fake news media? I don't see anything wrong with it, because he then goes to the women's session of conference in October. Stay away from the news. That's depressing, negative. Stay away, women. What is the news coming out with? Oh yeah, that whole Me Too movement thing of women being victimized and abused. So yeah, the church has a very bad history with sexism and abuse towards women. Yeah, they'd want women to stay away from the news, you know. And then the Protect LDS Children movement. That's done a great job. They got the church to change slightly. You can't bring recorders into the interviews. We don't want that. We don't want to be exposed for our crimes and abuses. But we'll allow you to have a witness if you're a youth or a woman. Men, they don't get a witness. Well, okay. Yeah. So that's what my bishop did here to get me out of the church. He said, you are not welcome to come back to church if you're going to continue to do videos that say that the Book of Mormon is the official doctrine of the church. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. He said the words, don't bother. Why do you bother? That's the threat tactic. And he doesn't see it. I never said that he couldn't say the Book of Mormon was the official doctrine. No, I'm the innocent guy. I'm the leader in this ward. Listen to me, other members who are wondering where Travis went. Travis is he's crazy. He's in that crazy house that Mark Shurtleff made sure he got put into, which Mark Shurtleff didn't intend to actually have me in this house. He intended to keep me down in that, Utah asylum called a hospital. That's where he wanted to keep me for life. So yeah, I managed to get out because certain key people retired and were replaced. And those new people were unfamiliar with what Shurtleff wanted. And so they said, you're fine. We don't see any problem why you're here. Let's double check your work. We don't think you're right. Oh, yeah, okay, we'll have to let him go. And so here I am. on YouTube exposing the church and Utah's corruption. Got to finally publish the book that got me arrested. So free speech reigns supreme. Yeah, I wanted my kids back. They refused to allow me my First Amendment right to petition for a redress of grievances. That's for victims. You know about, defendants, those who are accused, having a right to a court-appointed attorney who will then betray you and force you to plead guilty so that you never go to court. 98% in Utah versus the nationwide 95%. In Utah, you don't go to trial. They won't let you. You are automatically guilty if you are arrested by a cop. And you must plead guilty. If they really don't have anything on you, but they don't like you, they trump up the charges so that you then will plead to lesser charges rather than going to court. And in my case, I'm not pleading guilty. They had no intention of even offering a plea deal. They trumped up the charges specifically so that they can lock me away up for life without ever going to trial. Because they have this thing called the Utah State Hospital. And all they have to do is get somebody, anybody on either side to say, I don't think he's competent, Your Honor. Let's have him tested. Oh, okay. Let's suspend his rights. He's no longer allowed any rights and privileges under the Constitution until we resolve this matter as to whether he's competent or not. This is horrifying, guys. This isn't in harmony with the Constitution. This is complete corruption and disregard for the Constitution. But Utah will say, Constitution divinely inspired by God. Now give us our religious rights over the other rights of others so that we can deny food to the homosexuals and their gay agenda. Okay, so I'm just rambling now. So this is going to take some time to upload, and then I'll get to the video on how my theory on the Bible stories. I'll show you frame by frame each story for as long as it won't be too long for you. So I may get to Noah, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. Because if I get to Abraham, I'll just show you the church's stuff that's in there. Joseph was right. That's Abraham. And I'll show you in the video. Stay tuned. Same bat time, same bat channel.